Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Literacy View. We have a really special guest with us today. We met Sheriff Chris Swanson at the World Literacy Summit. Now, that seems a little odd that at the World Literacy Summit, one of the best speakers, most dynamic speakers we heard was a sheriff in Michigan. So Judy and I looked at each other and we said, we have to have him. But what made us memorable to the sheriff was our twerking on stage. So if you haven't seen Judy and I twerk at the World Literacy Summit, you can always go catch a video of that happening.
Oh, yeah, that was with MC Grammar, right?
MC Grammar, correct. And so Sheriff Chris Swanson definitely remembered us. So when we reached out, it was a great connection. We are so thrilled to have Chris with us today. Sheriff Swanson has been in law enforcement for 3 decades, and he is now running for governor of Michigan. So he has a really compelling story. We're going to turn it over to Chris. So Chris, usually we start off with a question, but honestly, I think the best thing you can do is introduce yourself to our audience, because we usually have researchers on and teachers and parents, but you're unique. And so I think it would be great to start off with you just telling the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I got to first give you and Judy mad credit for sticking with this podcast for all these years, doing it when you're sick, when you have to, readjust your schedule, because most podcasts don't survive past 50, let alone the 100 plus you're at. So you're diving into some great topics. So cheers to you and all your listeners, because they couldn't do it without you. You couldn't do it without them. And I just love being a part of people. So that is exactly who I am. My name is Chris Swanson. I'm 52 years old. I've been the sheriff of Genesee County in law enforcement for 33 years. I've been on faculty at the University of Michigan, Flint for 27 years, teaching public health administration. I love the things that I do in life, but most importantly, I love people, and I love looking at complex problems and solving them. The fact that, my career has been answering the calls for people whose lives are broken has been part of my DNA. And I have a natural gift and a heart to do one thing. And I told both you and Judy this: I want to inspire people to breathe life back into not only just people that are physically desperate to breathe, but also their families. And in this case, literacy. There are people that are listening right now that either they themselves or they know somebody who struggles with literacy, and they're adults. They're trying to make it through the world and they don't know how to help. They don't know where to go. Those folks they're having a hard time breathing in life. So if I can inspire them, if I can inspire the returning citizens, the people who feel like there's no hope in life, that's what Chris Swanson is. And that's what I've done my whole life.
Well, Chris, you inspired us for sure. Now, here's the question. All right. A lot of people have tried and have not gotten very far bringing literacy to inmates and trying to change their lives through literacy. What makes what you do different? Tell us a little bit about Inspire. I think that people need to know why you're different. I think that there have been people saying, oh, we've heard this before. But you are extremely different and unique. Tell us a little bit about how we get to people who are hard to reach through literacy, through education, and let's see what the magic is. And then we'll bring Judy in to pick your brain.
All right. So for all those that are listening, when this episode breaks, tell your friends and family to go to 4 minutes and 40 seconds and just buckle up. That's what we're about to do. I have seen the power of literacy through my whole life. I was not a very good student growing up. When I graduated high school in 1990, I couldn't get into the university. My grades were too low. I went to community college. And at that community college level, it inspired me. I have different seed planters in my life, and all the seed planters I've had were all teachers. So Dr. Avon Burge planted a seed. She allowed me to see another life, and that brought me to the sheriff's office. Once I went through my 2-year program and I ended up transferring to the University of Michigan, I met another professor when I was getting through my undergrad, and his name Dr. Ellis Perlman. He's dead now. Good man. He said, you need to get a master's degree. And so I had obviously not wanted to continue with school. I'd already worked full time. I was married. And I said, you know what, I'll do this. And I went to the University of Michigan and studied public administration. In my thesis, I was answering a question because back in 1994, 5, and 6, I was assigned to a drug team that was funded by the Bill Clinton crime bill. And on that application to get that money, you had to fill out the reasons why you were deserving of it. And I realized that the same application was given to the same communities, no matter what their challenges are, but their challenges are so much different. That being said, I answered the question in 1998, what really does reduce crime? What brings communities together? And it's not more police. It's not more, money. It's not harsher sentences. It's hope, education, and job placement in that order. And so that was a little foreshadowing of where's to come. Fast forward my whole career. I get hired at 97, at the University of Michigan. I'm in the education space. And throughout my whole career, and I should say for those that are watching, I operate in the jail industry. So jails in America, 9 out of 10 people go back to the street. Only 10% go to state prisons. So we have the people, the catch basin of all those bad decisions, bad luck, decisions that are made that cost people their lives. That's what jails are about. They are mental health facilities. They are broken. And we've been doing this since 1836. Well, as I became more of a commander in the sheriff's office, I knew in 2019 that I would be the next sheriff because I had planned on it for 27 years. And I thought, man, I'm going to want to leave a legacy. And so in July of 2019, I sat down with 2 commanders. I had not even been appointed sheriff yet, hadn't been elected. I said, we're going to change the way we do jail. We see the same generations of people come through the jail. 9 out of 10 are addicted or co-addicted. 6 out of 10 of them have a mental illness, either diagnosed or undiagnosed. And half of the people can't read a menu. So we're going to change the culture, the mindset of giving people education, because I know it's done in my life. But we're going to build it on a meritocracy, the hormone called dopamine. Dopamine is that hormone that's released by your hypothalamus when you're having a great day, great food, great music. There you go. And when that happens, it actually triggers an entirely different mindset. So I said, we're going to go and we're going to celebrate. If somebody in the jail does an 8-hour course or an 8-week course, we're going to give them a bag of chips, a can of pop, or full commencement. And we came up with the acronym IGNITE, Inmate Growth Naturally and Intentionally Through Education. Fast forward, I get appointed sheriff December 2019. I take office in 2020. COVID hits. I'm also the emergency manager of a big county in Michigan. So we go right into food delivery, diaper delivery, insure delivery, and we get distracted like everybody in the world for the first 3 months of 2020. Fast forward, in the first critical incident that happened in my tenure, even though I've been on the job my whole life, George Floyd was murdered by somebody who looked just like me in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And so when that happened, it triggered a number of incidents that I'm sure everybody here knows exactly where they were when they saw that video of him begging for his life. Well, on May 30th, 2020, here in Flint, Michigan, a city that has high crime, high poverty, just came off a water crisis in 2016. There was a protest scheduled on that day at the Target parking lot. And I will tell you, 3rd generation law enforcement, we were going to be responding the way everybody else did until I saw the humanity of the people. And there was a decision made, the best professional decision and personal decision I ever made in my career. And when they started chanting, "Walk with us," and you can go and see a number of videos on that, I just said there's got to be a better way. And instantaneously, I saw the perception and the perspective clash. Most people operate on their own perception and not listen to the people. And I thought, you know what? Walking with them makes the most sense. So in 3 seconds, I said, let's walk. I said, let's walk. We'll walk all night. And it instantly turned hate into hope. And the people that wanted to do harm thought, all right, there's something here. All that to say, for the sake of time, it set a tone. I made a commitment that day on a light post at the Target parking lot that I would do my part. I can't change everything, but I'm going to do my part to do some good for the world. And I knew that the lowest hanging fruit I had in my pocket had been a year before when I said ignite. Because that moment that we walked, it reached billions of people within 24 hours. I did 157 news interviews throughout the whole week. We had protests that whole summer. Nobody got arrested. Nobody burned anything. And they kept getting asked, what's next, Sheriff? And I said, well, we're going to change the way we do jail. So we launched Ignite September 8, 2020. We did it on the first day of public school. And we just changed a philosophy, Judy and Faith. We just changed our mindset. We went to school 5 days a week in the jail. 1 hour before lunch, 1 hour before dinner. And it was not mandatory, but it was offered to everybody, whether somebody had, 11th grade education or needs to learn colors and numbers. It didn't matter. Everybody was given the opportunity to learn. We started with paper and pen. We had no infrastructure, no money, just like you, starting it with nothing. And then what I found was, as soon as we started celebrating people's victories, crime in the jail, violence in the jail went down 90+%. Fast forward, we started seeing math and reading grades, which average 5th and 6th grade level. They're going up a grade and a half, 2 grades. We're graduating people with our kitchen certification. We're building out, virtual reality. And we didn't pay a dime because I had my vendors pay for all of the infrastructure. Fast forward, I'm doing an event down in Phoenix, Arizona to the National Sheriff Association. It represents 3,084 sheriffs. And I pitched that this is working in Genesee County and it can work in your jail. And I painted this beautiful picture because I have the data. We tracked every data point from the first day we launched in September of 2020. And the first sheriff to come forward was the sheriff of Hennepin County. And that is the county that has Minneapolis, Minnesota, right where it all started. It was almost angelic that happened that way. So the sheriff and we connected. I launched Ignite because I wanted to make sure if it worked that we could franchise it, duplicate it, and no money, just the mindset of scaling it out. And it started working in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And then we started doing it across the state and across the nation. So as I sit here today, we're in 23% of the states in the nation. Ignite was studied by Harvard, Brown, and Michigan for 18 months. They were embedded with our agency. They published their results in February of 2024. They had them through peer group studies, and it has been not only just proven, but also with empirical data that Ignite, which is inmate growth naturally, intentionally through education again, based on that meritocracy, is the culture change in jails that will change jails forever. It's the second chance mindset that all of us have been given to give people the ability never to come back to jail. So when you educate people that have made very bad decisions, that have victims on the other sides, I don't advocate for their cases. I don't write letters to judges, but while they're in jail, we can make them better so they don't reoffend and they don't come back. And when that happens, everybody wins. Fast forward, that's how I got to the World Literacy Foundation, and I met you wonderful champions of literacy at Oxford, England, and that's why we're here today.
Well, big cheers. I'm telling you, big cheers.
Thank you. Yeah.
So
wow, the sheriff is lucky he got the cheers button instead of the BS button.
Yes, he got the cheers button. And Judy, I couldn't help but listen to the order of how Sheriff Swanson approached this. Hope is first. Giving people hope, and that means building trust. That means building relationships. And clearly, Sheriff Swanson's a master at this. What are some of your thoughts about how we approach literacy with children? Is that the number one factor? I don't think it is. And it should be. I think we think we're doing an okay job, but I do think that relationship building between adults and children and families, so that they trust us and can talk to us openly, really makes a huge difference. What are some of your thoughts about that, Judy?
It's so funny. We've been doing this podcast for a couple of years now, and I actually knew that was what you were going to say.
Uh-oh, that's scary.
Chris, I don't know if you know, Faith and I were strangers. Somebody brought us together.
Wow.
And, we have so much in common, but I think that Chris is 100% right, that relationships are everything. That is the core value for me as an educator for the last 28 years. It's all about believing in those kids, thinking they can do well, that belief, also not blaming anybody, not their parents, not the child, but that's number one for me. It always has been a core value. And once somebody knows that you believe in them and believe that they can do something or succeed, everything changes. That's like a core value for me. It just makes me so sad as an educator that I see sometimes teachers, not all teachers, but some will be like, oh, this kid's a pain, or, in the teacher's room, or say, oh yeah, oh, I can't take that kid. And nobody knows what somebody's going through. Nobody knows what somebody's life at home might be like. Nobody knows, children's experiences, what mental health issues they might be having. So every moment that we have with human beings, whether it be an adult or a child, somebody elderly, a leader, treat them with kindness. Kindness really matters. It really is key. But I think, Chris's story is such an interesting story. And I just want to mention how we actually met him for a second. So he was speaking, he was dynamite on stage. He'll probably talk more about that. He has a partnership with Jelly Roll and all of that good stuff. But like Faith and I, we're really picky, right? We've heard so many speakers, and sometimes we're like, oh, whatever, we've heard this shit before. And Chris was like so different. We really did feel inspired. Yeah. And the second he walked off of that stage at a literacy conference, right? It was something so different. Faith pulls out the business card and she was like, as he's running off stage, she's like, here, call us. Let's do this. And it's just so amazing to have you here. And Chris, your story is very interesting to me. And I think that, whether people are Republicans, Democrats, libertarians, whatever they are, I think your message is a very unifying message. And it shows that no matter where you stand on certain issues, kindness is first. Mm-hmm. Listening to people always matters, even if you don't have similar views. And what I really like is, you talked about a very hard time in history, and many people did have many different opinions on it. But you know what I really respect? That you listened to what people were going through,
And you said literacy has no party.
That's right.
Literacy has
no party.
That is so, to me, the bottom line in That's having right. the literacy view. We could all have our different views about how to approach things, but literacy has no party. So talk about this run for governor. What inspired you to make a shift from sheriff to wanting now to be governor? That's a huge leap, Chris. Tell us about that.
Well, without souring your audience, I'm not going to, divide by making some policy statements other than government across the country and around the world is there to take care of the people, period. And many times in government positions, my own, I get discouraged by decisions being made and the hearts behind them. And so throughout my whole life, I've been very, very focused on three tenets. And I protect people, I serve people, and I unify people. And when you are able to do that, in my case, as a sheriff of a big county, and I have the results to show that, it gives people that hope and inspiration that forget this, the actions are what I want you to focus on. And so when you have the ability to move into a bigger platform to influence more people, then it is almost my duty and it is my mission to do that and to put up with shots in the chest from enemies and knives in the back from friends, to stay the course, to know that if I can protect students at school, if I can protect people's rights, if I can serve them and help families grow and help literacy not only just thrive in Michigan, but around the country, if I can bring people together that would never be brought together, maybe even on this podcast, we could find people that maybe didn't like the fact that I was a sheriff or I was a white guy or whatever it was. But by the actions that I have done, they have a different perspective of me. That's unity, not to be confused with uniformity. And a governor has the ability to set that tone. We've seen that. If you look at moments like take the May 30th incident. That moment with momentum created a movement. And so I see this as a great opportunity to create a moment where people can believe in government leadership again. They can believe in Chris Swanson. They can believe in my heart to protect, serve, and unify. And with momentum, others will follow, like Faith and Judy and your listeners, and we will create a movement. I know that if I look back at the people of my life that have inspired me to breathe life back into me, it's one person. I mean, if you look at life, if you look at world history and American history, it's one person that says, we're going this way. And that's what creates the movements. And when it comes to literacy, my mom did that for me. My mom, who's 85 years old, she works at a department store 4 days a week. She's about 5 feet tall. She taught me literacy. One person allowed me this process to get a master's and to be an educator myself. And, you know, when it comes to government, and I'll end on this, when it comes to tying these two together, just on the literacy issue, government is good for policy when it comes to literacy and education. Schools are there great for support. Teachers inspire, but the home teacher, the home parent or guardian is the foundation of literacy no matter what. There's no government program that will ever outshine what can happen at a bedtime story, at a dinner table, in a car, reading and learning together. Reading literacy, financial literacy, digital literacy, learn together. That's what's going to change culture.
Yeah, I think what you just said about the individual is so important. I think sometimes we think that's somebody else's job to make change. And I think people underestimate the power of the individual and having a voice.
That's right.
I think when Judy and I started, we do this podcast self-funded. And if we get sponsors, great. But we're not beholden to anybody. It's all on us. Judy has become a tech maven. And, she really...
I've just glitched.
No. But she really does a great job with that. We work together to do this show with zero experience podcasting, just with a computer and a mic, and that's it. And it's grown because people can relate to us.
Can I just point something out real quick?
Yeah.
What you just said is exactly how we're going to fix literacy. You were not literate in the digital podcast space, but you learned, and now look at you. Because of those two decisions you made, look how many lives you've impacted over 135 episodes around the world. And it just took Judy and Faith. That's it. We are not far from a lot of these results that people have been desperate for. You're a proof example.
Thank you.
You know what I think that's really cool about having Chris on? Law enforcement for a while, people, were so angry about certain things and forgot about how much help law enforcement can provide humanity. I mean, look at what you're doing in the jails. Look at what you're doing on the street. Because I feel like of some one bad apple that people just generalize in general on certain things. This is good or this is bad. And people don't focus enough on how much good is out there. And
That's
I think that you bring so much goodness into the world. And I think that we also have to value law enforcement and the good people there that are protecting us or helping us. I have a question for you. So what does literacy in the jails look like? Who's providing the services? What does it look like?
Is there a program?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Do you use a special program? Are the people trained to do this, or do you have something that anybody could be trained in?
Yeah. So I really encourage your audience to Google Ignite. Again, inmate growth naturally, intentionally through education. You'll see sheriffs across the country that have launched Ignite in their own jails. White sheriffs, black sheriffs, Republican sheriffs, Democratic sheriffs, male sheriffs, female sheriffs. Because as I said, not only does literacy not have a party, it doesn't have an affiliation except for giving people a gateway to success. That's it. So I don't ask questions of people's ideologies if they want to help the returning citizen or the second chance citizen out there to learn how to never come back. Because if I do get any kind of gruff about teaching folks in the jail, I just simply ask the question, what if it's your kid? And then that just neutralizes everything. And so again, Ignite is a jail education culture. It's not a program. It's the way we do business now. And when that happens, you infuse in the system that sense of hope because you're giving people the ability to do something they've never either chosen to do or had the opportunity to do. And that's a lot for people in your audience to may understand. But remember that perception versus perspective comparison I said earlier. You may never have had to deal with addictions or mental illness or people that are incarcerated, but there's a lot of people out there that have. And so you got to shift and think there are people who literally have made bad decisions consciously. There's people who did not have the opportunity that Chris Swanson had. And by God's grace, I didn't end up there. And a lot of us can say that. So when I look at the population, again, I don't take a litmus test of who's involved with Ignite or who's not. I give it to everybody. And we have a big jail, 580 people in our jail. As I said, our stats are very surreal when you look at 9 out of 10 addicted and half of them can't read. So when we launched Ignite, we are going to build it on that meritocracy, but not everybody fits the GED diploma. That's why we have barber college, financial literacy. We have food classes, healthy eating classes. We teach people conflict resolution. We have 4,000 online Edovo classes running hotels to speaking French. We have instructors that come in and teach first aid, CPR, Narcan. We partner with Mott Community College, my community college that gave me my shot to teach welding. So when they come done with welding, they go and they connect right with the apprentice program for the iron workers nationally, and they can get a hood, a pair of gloves, and an apron, and a direct entry when they leave jail to the iron workers apprentice program, making 45 to 50 bucks an hour. We partner with all of our local partners. We have employed hundreds of people from the Genesee County Jail, from jail to work sites. These folks are not coming back. And when you look at what Harvard said, it reduces jail violence by up to 90%, 47% across the board on average. It reduces crime by 23% for a community. There's not a government program that I've ever seen in my entire career that reduces crime by 23%. Everybody's asking, how do you reduce crime? How do you reduce crime? Ignite. It saves the community, per Harvard Brown in Michigan, $5,200 to $7,200 per inmate of that community's funds if they're in 1 month of Ignite. So if your jail account is down 100, you're saving nearly $500,000 to $750,000 for the entire county, let alone the 3,080 counties. If we have that as a baseline, imagine how fewer people are going to prison. If that's going, then we save billions and billions of dollars. And where can that savings go? Right back into literacy at the grade school level, the 3rd to 6th grade, helping parents with literacy-based apps so they can read. So, there's a lot of folks out there who struggle to read to the kids because they struggle to read. Let's do a safety place where you can learn with your child, free access to children's books, making sure that we have parent nights where they are actually setting aside a 15-minute reading campaign. I could go on and on. 4 years ago, I started the Sheriff Swanson Pizza Party Extravaganza. March in Michigan and around the country is Literacy Month. So I went to every elementary school. I don't care what one it is, because I don't want to leave any kid out. And I say, if you read and that school wins, how many pages? They will get a pizza party. The principal will get $1,000 for them to spend on their staff, not the kids. If the second place gets, they have to spend it on their staff, $1,525 or $250. And when the school that wins, we bring the sheriff's office there. We do inflatables. I give the whole pizza, party for the school. Can I tell you, in 4 years, they have read tens of millions of pages. Tens of millions of pages. As a society, if we celebrate reading and we encourage home reading, a long answer to your short question, that's what I'm doing in the jail. So when people ask me my K through 12 plan, my plan is K through jail, because we've all been through those places where, this person is going to fall through the cracks and eventually they're going to end up in jail. Well, they can't be forgotten. These are our grandkids and children of people. So that being said, Ignite has not paid a single instructor one dime to teach in the jail. These are people from the outside that come in and want to be the Faiths and the Judys to teach. So I partner with, as I said, the iron workers, the United Auto Workers that bought my virtual reality stations, where inmates can build virtually an entire door frame. They can plumb, they can lay wire. When Jelly Roll came to the jail in December of 2023 and said, "You
All
need
right, tell
music,
us a
Sheriff?"
little bit about.
Oh,
Sheriff,
yeah.
tell us a little bit about the whole Jelly Roll story.
Yeah,
For our
Jelly
viewers
Roll is a
that
great
don't know.
example. Yeah, Jelly Roll is Jason DeFord, and he got his GED when he was 23 years old, locked up, and he transformed his life through his music. And he'll tell you, because I'm very close to him, that he's not the most talented guy, but he has a story, and he's going to use it as a tool, not a weapon. Real music for real people, real problems, and him and I are very much in sync with our hearts. Come from two different backgrounds. But when he came to the jail as an invite to show him what we're doing in the jail, he put on a concert, and we had a graduation. And one of the graduating class we have is I run a barber school. So we give them their certification, then we leave jail and go right to a barber, and they can get their full-time wage. I mean, this is breaking generational poverty and homelessness and addictions. I mean, I could go on and on about giving people hope and education and a job. It's crazy. That being said, it caught Jelly Roll's attention, and those people at that level, they can see BS, Judy and Faith. They can see, and they know my heart. They know that I tell people, don't listen to what I say, just watch what I do. And he came to the concert. He saw the humanity of what we're doing, and he goes, Sheriff, you need to get music in here. And again, I'm a doer. I'm a fixer. I take issues, and I just don't, come up with all the things we should do. I get things done. And so we partnered with my friends at the UAW, and I said, I want the Jailhouse Music Studio, and so they wrote a $15,000 check, and we built a whole music studio out inside the 5th floor of the jail. So now we have people that are so talented that used to use it for selling dope, writing lyrics, and now that digital property they have is their own intellectual property. They have an asset. These people, a lot of them have never had a bank account. They shop at party stores, and they have no assets. Now they have something, and of course that follows them wherever they go. And then on top of that, we have mothers who have never been taught how to be a mother because they've been victims themselves, who have children. So we partner with Carnegie Hall in New York, and they do a lullaby program where these mothers sing to their children, and those songs are archived for life. We do music therapy, because if you look at music, it's very therapeutic. And I tell people, if me teaching somebody how to write a track or record a song keeps them from re-addicting, re-offending, then I'll do it all day long, because I do get criticized for having all this in the jail. But my job as the sheriff is to keep the community safe. And if I can do that through education, then everybody wins. And that's what Jelly Roll picked up on. So we became friends. He came back when I launched the music studio, and it was there that he said, I have not gotten into Europe because of my felony convictions. And I deputized him as a deputy sheriff because he's such a good partner. And we went there together, and you saw it live with Jelly sitting there, and him and I talking for over an hour. You saw his heart, and he's using his platform in a mighty way. And I think anybody who has been given something is obligated to do such the same thing.
We have to get Jelly Roll on the Literacy View. You can make that happen, Chris, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll work on it.
Funny, you put poor Chris on the spot live
I'll
on
do
the
it.
air.
I'll do it.
Of course. Anyhow, as I'm listening to you, Chris, I'm hearing a whole lot of interesting messages. Wraparound services for people.
That's
So
right.
it's not just reading. It is thinking about what people need in their life to give them opportunities. You mentioned data, the power of data to know if you're on the right track, and to obviously get people interested. You have
Right.
the proof so that you're not just wasting money and time. So wraparound services, data, hope, making connections with people. I'm trying to bring this to people so that with your message, they are picking up on some of these important factors that might be missing, instead of just thinking, oh, I have to get X program into my school. Because that's usually what happens. People think that a program is going to be the ultimate fix. It is not. Yes, a good program matters, curriculum matters, but if you don't invest in people And if you don't invest in relationship building and thinking about their lives outside of just learning how to read, then we're missing the mark. Is that correct?
You know, you're spot on the fact that programs are there as a guide, but they are not the end all, because we want to feel good that, hey, there's something there, I can back away. It literally is going to take people on this podcast to work with their schools, maybe with their sheriffs, to launch Ignite, to say, I want to partner. But for me to say, hey, this is a great idea, Judy, this is a great idea of Faith, you guys run with it. Like, I'm not doing my part. Everyone watching and listening has a circle of influence. Use that circle. Use it as a tool, not as a weapon. You may have to work with people that don't look like you, believe like you, live where you live, but for the good of others, it's worth it. And so that's why I say culture changes always work if they're done right. Culture changes will destroy if they're done wrong.
Hey, do you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about, this sounds like such a great model in general. Why does our education system not look like that in high school more? Why does it not look like that more in elementary school? Here you are, you have to sit at a desk, you have to sit still, you can't move, you can't do anything. Think about, this model sounds great for high school. Why aren't we doing more of that? And maybe kids would thrive more if they had different opportunities. Not everybody has to go to college to be successful. Trades should be celebrated more as well. And maybe if we thought about revising the model that we currently have in place and thinking about these things, maybe we would get less, people in prison to begin with. Maybe our educational system and the way it is right now isn't working for everybody. So I think that we have to start being more creative and see what we have going on, what we could do differently, and how we can encourage more people to feel successful. Like, I've even been, in schools where they're like, okay, what college are you going to?
I know.
Not everybody wants to go to college.
Right.
That doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you can't be educated. My own father is a blue collar guy, and he lived a great life, and he provided great opportunities for me. So I think we have to start rethinking things even before it gets into the prison system. Obviously, what you're doing is working. Do you think that there's a chance that some of these programs can take place outside of the prison systems as well?
1,000%. 1,000%. See, I can only control my controllables. That's why I seek a higher office to do greater things for the greater amount of people, because it's the right thing to do. So take in point what you just said. And let's be honest, when we were coming through school, those that didn't pick a college or went through a shop class or went through that track, there was a stigma attached to that. But when you bring in trades, and it doesn't have to be ironworking or electrical, what about coding? What about technical trades that prepare them for AI technology and data center building and the things that, are, energy driven? Like, give people a pipeline. And here's the thing is, back that up. And this is part of my platform, is back that up to middle school. Do you know most personalities and temperaments are discovered at age 12, 13 years old? Like, I knew what I was going to go down. I knew what I wasn't going to do. So if we back that down to that 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level, the middle school, where we're doing what I call career awareness. Like, hey, are you good didactically? Can you use your hands? Are you more intellectual? Are you choleric, sanguine, melancholy, phlegmatic? Let's put you in that track. And then when you get to 9th and 10th grade, you're plugged into apprentice program. You're learning how to do the trade that is very natural to you, and you love it. And then when you get to 11th to 12th grade, we're actually going to put you in some co-ops so you can actually feel it. Can you imagine graduating? Because we do it now with dual enrollment. We do it now with the military, that kids can graduate, at least in Michigan, where they have an apprentice certification for a trade. They go right from the stage, right into an employment, and they're making 70, 80, 90,000 a year. In a trade where they love. Are you kidding me? You're changing generations.
So let me ask you something, Chris. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I can't help but feel there are people thinking, yes, we've tried some of this before. Oh, it's just somebody else kind of spouting out some, interesting, inspirational types of things, but they're not buying it.
Yeah.
what do you say to the naysayers that are out there? Because I've encountered many of them where they kind of, they've seen it before. They feel like, let's say in education, oh, here's another program, in with that, out with something else. Oh, here we go again. And they don't really give things a chance, because the minute something doesn't seem like it's working, we throw it out, then it comes back. And there are a lot of people, and rightfully so, they've been through it all. What do you say to them to kind of change that mindset?
I would start with the question of what if? What if this is the answer that you've been seeking? You just have never been given that answer. And I would invite all of your guests, come to 1002 South Saginaw Street in Flint, Michigan, and see it for yourself. Google Ignite, watch the videos of the graduations. My next graduation in August will be my 36th commencement, not my graduate, 36th commencement. Take the time and watch and look at the names and faces, because I was able to, and this is not to be egocentric, so please forgive me. I was able to churn and break a cycle that has been in play since 1836. We've been jailing the same way in Genesee County, like any jails, since 1836. And when I walked into the crowd in May of 2020, and I was prepared to take 1,000 people to jail, and a white police sheriff is there standing in the gap between people that did not appreciate law enforcement, because what happened in Minneapolis. And in one moment, by just asking those closest to the problem, what do you need? The whole thing turned. So nobody's going to convince me that you can't make a decision that can change culture. If people don't want to believe that, I can't help that. But what I can do is give people who want to see that change the what if. What if this is the answer? What if this is the culture change that you've been looking for? What if Chris Swanson has something that you've been begging for, and this is it? That's what I would say.
All right, I got to ask some hard questions. All right. So, do you see a lot of dyslexia in the prisons? Because a lot of our viewers are very passionate about dyslexic students and the way they need to learn with a phonics-based approach. And then the other thing I'm thinking about is it hard to deal with somebody who's potentially maybe murdered somebody or committed a crime that's so vicious? And how do you break those barriers and just do something to help somebody who's committed maybe a very difficult crime?
So just for clarification, jails and prisons are two different for your audience. Everybody goes to jail that breaks the law and goes to that first phase of incarceration, but only 10% go from jail to be sentenced to prison in any state. So the jail population is truly the catch basin of bad decisions, addictions, mental illness, and all the things that society deals with. Number one, to your question, I've got staff members that struggle with dyslexia. Like, we cannot stigmatize people who have a hard time with dyslexia or literacy, whether there's people, even financial literacy, there's people who are broke and they're in their 40s and 50s and 60s because they were never taught financial literacy. There's people, as I said, literacy is just the understanding, the comprehension in order to put an act in your life. And so when you look at jails, I am very intentional that everybody has a struggle that you may not see on the outside, but I give everybody the opportunity, whether they take it or not, that's on them. But it's always offered to everybody. And we have seen my own staff. Okay, there's a documentary is in called The Truth About Reading. And when my staff saw that.
It was in it too, Chris.
Yes. Can I tell you were there? Wow. Okay, we got to go back to that one. That documentary that Faith and I were in, I had staff members reach out to Nora Shabazi and say, I want to be in your program, because they were my own staff members that didn't know how to read. And so it is a pathway. If I can help somebody in that pathway, then I'm going to do it. The Genesee County Jail in Flint, Michigan, 60% of my inmate population are there for 20-year to life offenses. They've done some serious, serious crimes. I am not there, as I said, to advocate for their crimes, and certainly I stand up for victims. But while they're there, if I can make them different than when they came in, whether they go to prison or they go back into the street, it will keep my staff safe. It will keep the county of Genesee liability free. It will prepare those families to receive their loved one as a different way than when they left. These people have kids that have grown up in this brokenness. They've had parents and grandparents that have begged that their loved one come back alive that night. I've restored hope in families. So I don't care why they're there. It matters nothing to me because I'm not advocating for it. They still have to pay their dues. But if I can change their mindset, if I can change their culture, that whenever and wherever their journey takes them, they've been given a foundation at the sheriff's office. They've been given a foundation through Ignite to change their entire family tree, their generations. So that's the answer. If you look at those graduations, you'll see, especially our female population, the majority of the females that are graduating at the Genesee County Jail Ignite program are in there for murder. I'm still teaching them.
Well, Chris, I'm just blown away by your passion and your action. You don't just talk clearly. These are things that we could track and see for ourselves what's going on. So this was thrilling to have you. I think what Judy asked about dyslexia. So for our families out there listening, a lot of the families know that kids with dyslexia need specialized instruction. You mentioned the truth about reading, where they have, a speech to print approach, which they were advocating. Regardless, they need something systematic, explicit. What do you think about AI in the future? Could that be something that you would bring in to this population? Because that seems to be the answer right now to overcrowded circumstances where you don't have the manpower to be able to handle some of this, even though your relationships are built on face-to-face. Could AI be something that's a supplement? What do you think about that?
100%. I think in the whole education space, AI needs to be seen as a tool, not as a replacement for good teachers. That should never change because that personal interaction, as a teacher myself, I don't ever want it to be replaced, or at least I don't ever want it to be mandated to be replaced by technology, because there's great value in doing what we're doing now. But there are tools that teachers need to be given in a way for them to learn how AI is going to be a supplement, it's going to be a companion, it's going to be, as I said, a teaching tool, but that teacher is the tip of the spear in the classroom. AI is just like it was when the internet was introduced. And we saw those things transition where the internet became a very valuable piece in education. And that's where I think AI is. And we are using it very sporadically in the jail because, again, we're changing culture. So even though we're 5 years this September, AI is still a part of it, but we're using more tech-based technology that's already been established. But I think when it comes to education, there is so much that can be done to help teachers. Think about this. If we wanted to study the great orators of the world, you'd have to take all that time to pick and choose. Now you can use AI and take the 100 best orators and teach your students how to be great speakers by within seconds getting the best top 5, top 10 takeaway points. That only helps the teaching experience. That only helps that teacher become a advocate for great historic examples of how to communicate. So it's all about perception. It goes back to what I said earlier. AI is a tool that's going to be here forever. You may not want it, but it's here. Use it and don't be afraid of it.
Excellent. Judy, do you have any last questions or thoughts?
Are you in New York City prison jail systems?
We are in New York. We have 2 sites, northern New York. I'm gonna have Jason Gould send you those New York sites. I've been there and we've launched there personally, because whenever a sheriff wants to launch a site, we send myself or one of my commanders. I can't do it as much now, but we go there and we help them. And again, we drive all this through the National Sheriff Association out of Virginia. They've created an entire division to help launch Ignite statewide, nationwide, to all 3,000
Do you
sheriffs.
think you're going to be in all 50 states at some point?
What state? I'm sorry?
50. All 50?
Ask, do you think you're going to be in all 50 states?
Oh, yeah. Well, I can tell you what. This is it's like anything else. 3 years ago, we were in 1 county. Now we're in 23% of the states in America. we're in 28 counties, and it grows exceptionally well every quarter. So I know in Michigan, this will be part of an administrative mandate in order to become Department of Corrections certified, is you have to have an educational model with a wraparound service for driver restoration, home placement, addiction control, and job placement. If we can do those as they leave the jails in Michigan, then we're going to not only reduce crime, but also reduce the financial demand that taxpayers pay to house people, to treat people. So again, you got to start somewhere to establish the platform, and others will follow. As I said, it only takes one. In this case,
Yeah,
it took
that's
Sheriff
true.
in Genesee County.
Are you getting international attention? Are international systems monitoring what you're doing and reaching out to you?
Yeah, clearly the Oxford connection was international, and having 82 countries there. And I think, and you've been there for so many years, having a sheriff there from a law enforcement perspective really kind of blew the doors off a lot of people because they were not used to my perspective. And those folks do not represent the incarcerated mental health stage, those kinds of folks. So I think what happens is once we set the tone, like anything else, once we set the tone in Michigan, in the United States, because the platform, again, forget the fact they're incarcerated, it's built on dopamine. It's built on the meritocracy. And parenting is that way. And coaching is that way. And friendships are that way. If you can create an experience that's positive, people are more apt to remember that and repeat it. And so the model that works in jails, because it's never been done, but the same model can be used in any population around the world. It doesn't matter. If I say, Judy, great job, you did this, here's whatever it is, it creates that emotional attachment. You're wanting to do more of it. People have lacked the basics, and that's what we're doing.
Faith, you know what you have to do?
What?
Three things that are BS or three things that are cheers. Don't you end like that?
You know what? All right. Well, he did give us a ton of positive, but
no BS. I promise you that.
Well,
he can give BS, right?
Give BS. So what are three things that you think are completely BS related to prison systems and what you know in your world as a sheriff?
Again, jails. I just want to bring it all back to jails because I want to speak in my own backyard. Number one, these are not awful people that you need to forget and cast them aside into a trash heap. Number two, everybody who's incarcerated has a family that's doing time with them. Number three, everybody listening and watching has been given grace when you didn't expect it and mercy when you didn't deserve it. Give the same thing to other people.
And what about the BS part, Chris? You are avoiding that.
No. Oh, I think it's BS that everybody thinks that those incarcerated are horrible human beings. They've done terrible things, but they're still people that we can help move. And we've got a system where it's like, oh, it's those people that are locked up. Number two, and I go back to that, is we forget and we don't link the families and the family impact. And we just, again, do this us and them, which is BS. When it comes to that third part is, it goes back to the us and them. You're right. It's harder for me to think about the negativity than the positive. So I'm trying to do the BS side of it, but it's a culture perception of what we think those people are doing. It's what those people have done. And I think that's the BS. It goes back into the education system. We don't have a broken system in America. We've got a system that has gaps. To say we have a broken education system is BS to the teachers, the staffers, the parapros, the superintendents, the principals. That's BS. Same thing in jails. It's BS to think that. Now I'm a BS. I like this. Now it's BS to think that nothing can change in jails. These people have made their own past. They'll keep repeating. Oh, that's BS. There we go.
There we go. And that was Chris Swanson's BS summary. All right. So we're going to end on that. Chris, you were a delight to speak with. We're so honored to have had you with us. You were so much fun at the World Literacy Summit.
Thank you.
We hope we get to talk again. And this was great. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Hey, congratulations on your success as well. That's admirable.
Thank you. And for those people listening, if you enjoyed this show, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and to give us a positive review. Keep up that positivity. We love you. Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.